everyone. Thanks for coming. Welcome to Black T-Shirts Live. The great thing about having an audience is you can cheer and make some noise. It sounds great on a podcast. Before I do the formal opening, Adam, would you like to say a few words?
You've got your confidence up as a co-presenter,
as a live podcaster.
I actually, unlike you, I'm something's just come up which is a bit distracting. We have a fortnightly newsletter at Tinkerbell called Weirdo, and I'm meant to approve it before it goes out.
Right.
Can somebody just read through it, and approve it?
You're delegating approval.
Thank you.
Oh, Amanda worked in corporate affairs. She'll be able to approve that for you. Yeah. Okay. So you're delegating your approvals. Anything else you like to delegate? Like your kids' lunches, cool. Or is anything else that needs to be?
All cool, but you've got about 10 minutes to send it off.
Okay, great. Okay, Adam, that's great. All right, yeah. So welcome. This is a live recording of Black T-Shirts. This will be a podcast because we're so consistent and reliable with our podcast distribution, aren't we, Adam? They're out every week. We're so consistent. Anyway, but big thanks to Adobe, who are friends of the show and friends of creativity in general. So thank you to Adobe for putting this on. And our friends at MIK who produce our podcast. They're the best of the business. If you need a podcast, talk to the guys at MIK. And we have a very special guest today. So as you know, hopefully some of you know about our podcast. If you don't, it's a podcast that's all about the power of creativity when it's applied in a commercial setting. And so because of that, we tend to talk to a lot of marketers, creative directors from agencies, but it's a real pleasure when we get to talk to a real artist who does it not just for commercial purposes, but does it, for the sheer creativity of it, right, Chris?
I love the game, yeah.
So Chris Yee is our special guest today, and he is a successful contemporary artist here in Australia, and a really interesting artist because he combines illustration and digital. He combines quite traditional techniques with more modern techniques. And he's been featured with all sorts of brands. He's done advertising, but the thing he's done the most that makes me the most jealous is in the Apple, the famous Apple campaign where they put famous people behind the Mac. Well, Chris was one of the Aussies behind the Mac, and I think that's super cool. Yeah. We've got some of Chris's.
Was that sound effect? Is that to make it feel like it's a bigger audience than we've already got? That's about? Because that was super fan. Deal on the super producer. Thank you very much. So we got a surprise. This is some of Chris's work that's up here behind us, and we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail. But Adam, do you want to kick off? We always like to kick off with our guests.
Yeah, sure. Chris, just to tell us a bit about yourself. Maybe start at school. What were you like?
Yeah, I guess I was pretty shy at school. I went to Epping Boys Public School, if anyone's heard of that. And, I sort of had dreams of becoming a designer. I remember in year 12, there was like a book saying what your salary would be. This is like 20 years ago. And designer had $50K and artist had $0. So I chose to be a designer. Went to graphic design school, did web, textiles, and was really bad at both, and then somehow ended up drawing my way to become an artist, animator, director, and now doing installation art and a whole bunch of different things.
How did you get on with the other kids at school?
I have a twin brother, Andrew, so we're both kind of well loved, and he looks way different from me. We're like Mario and Luigi, so I'm the little one, I'm Mario, he's Luigi. But yeah, we were well loved, but not many people did art in my school at all. It was very, very rare. So, I think we're a bit of a circus spectacle.
How did you get into art?
It was just kind of through the love of drawing. I guess back 20, 25 years ago, there wasn't really room for illustration, but we loved illustration. So we really just to spend time as brothers, learned to draw, picked up the pen, just spent all the time after school drawing and just copying comic books and stuff like that.
So you're both creative?
Yeah, we're both creative. Yeah, we work together a lot as well for some of these jobs.
Really, wow. So that's unusual, right? Like I know I've got 3 kids and all 3 of them are completely different. It's sort of unusual, right? Twins who both are into the same sort of stuff.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm far more of an illustrator.
Psychotic or quasi-psychotic?
I think we're both a bit crazy. But he's far more of a writer. He's way better at words, and he sort of writes treatments and I kind of do the execution.
Identical twins or non-identical?
Non-identical.
Just said Mario and Luigi. Which with the Mario and Luigi don't you understand?
Aren't they?
They both got mustaches.
Yeah, they're both.
One's tall and skinny, and one's
I don't know Mario Brothers, the reference. Across all the different things you do, textiles, design, and so illustration, and so on. Is there anything at its core that you're trying to do? Is there anything that holds it all together? Is there?
Yeah, I
What's
guess.
your thing?
Like for me, I guess it's sort of having a singular storyline or a language. So it's for me, it was really hard to find my own sense of identity. And once I keyed into what that really was, it really led the path to sort of execute a whole bunch of different things. So for me, it was to do with my area, my Asian Australian identity. So really being, Asian and then Australian and then that gray area in between, which is really, really unique. So once I sort of found that, it sort of helped me create a visual language and then really lead the way to telling these different sort of stories.
Can I ask a slightly rude question?
Please.
Do you get bored of that? Like, do you ever think, oh shit, I'd rather do something else than this Asian Australian influence thing?
Funnily enough, not really. Like, I guess because when
Good
I was...
answer.
Yeah. I guess there wasn't much exposure to it when I was younger, especially in the creative world. So it's really cool to be part of that and seeing that evolve and change. But now, I just find that, like, other sort of diasporas as well, the definition's always changing as time goes on. So I'm always curious, always really interested, and I'm just never getting bored of it. And it sort of keeps me feeling young and my brain active. Yeah.
And you said it took you a little while to find that, which I find surprising because it's your upbringing and it's your culture. At first, did you not want to embrace that in your art? Did you want to do something else? Why did it take a while to kind of work that out?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of a weird punk sort of thing. I guess because, say I'd go to Asia, I wouldn't be seen as Asian, And if, say I went to art school, a lot of kids from eastern suburbs or the beaches, and I was from Eastwood and Ryde. So I didn't feel like I was part of that either. So I was really in the middle. And when I first started my career, I guess my first work was through skate and surf. And I can't skate or surf. So I can't do much. So I was a massive, massive phony. But then it took me a while to sort of get my footing. And then, I really felt a sense of comfortable in my identity, my skin, and, found an audience and other creatives that related to me. So it's been a driving force, yeah.
Like outsider art, is that kind of how you see yourself? Or do you see yourself, is that what you...
Yeah, I guess so. It's kind of punk, I guess, in that degree. It is feeling like the outsider, but then also realizing that, there's a massive community of Australians who have the same experience growing up with like me that we can all relate to. And it's a massive grey area. It's really cool.
So to have that insight and to have that drive is wonderful. A lot of podcasts is about the actual creative process and trying to help people with the process of creativity. Can you just tell us where you get your, like the surf thing and the skate thing was really interesting. Where do you get the spark from? What creates the idea? What's the kernel?
Yeah, I guess luckily, I went to design school at COFA, and it did teach me, even though I wanted to draw all day, and that's really all I wanted to do at the time, it did teach me how to sort of respond to a brief. And I guess when I was trying to find my own story for my own work, and then hearing someone else's story and react to their brief, trying to understand that language and their story. So I really I guess it comes down to understanding stories and then really trying to resonate with it. And I really find that interesting. So, yeah.
You understand the story, then how do you be creative from that? So you understand, you slow things down, you really try to listen, you really try to understand what's happening in that world of surf or skate or what the client wants, then what? How do you take that and turn it into something tangible?
I guess it's being in those communities, spending time in those communities, and then understanding okay, what are the properties of their attitudes? How can I create that into a visual form? And, they're coming to me at the time for illustration. So I'm like, how can I draw that language? It's like a massive problem solve, right? And I guess as time goes on, now, when I've been able to do product or advertising or, live action video stuff, it's really keying into, okay, what is the visual language associated with this people, this community, what is the story? But then it's also really, really fun. I sort of love subcultures and music, fashion, skating. It's all really, really cool. But then, with my personal work, I really deep dive into what I care about a lot. But it's all a bunch of fun. I really love it.
And in terms of the actual process, is it about lots and lots of versions to find the sort of final thing? Is it about the craft of really making it special? Like talk us through the actual process of creating one of your pieces.
Yeah, I guess for me, it always starts off with sketching and illustration. So, I've never been the best talker, especially when I was younger in uni. I was really, really quite shy. But then, being able to show someone a drawing and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Is this correct? And I know it's my first revision. So it's always, and even now, if I do ad directing or video, I still do the style frames, the animatics, storyboards, all of it, because I work as like a pretty small unit. But it's really about just communicating. And through me, it's through illustration. Yeah.
And do you always start with paper, pencil, or do you now do it straight, into an iPad or something? What's your sort of medium of choice?
My medium of choice is funnily enough, Photoshop. I sketch through Photoshop and I just create a PDF deck through that. So yeah, but when I started, it was definitely...
It's Adobe Photoshop, everyone, by the way, just in case
if unaware.
You're wondering.
But yeah, it's funny because, when I started drawing in illustration, I remember illustration had to be ink. If it wasn't ink, you look down upon, like, you're not a real drawer, you're not a real illustrator. So then when I started using tablet, it was a bit of a shift in that change. And people were like, oh, you're not the real deal, you're not a real artist. But then now, that's the whole medium. That's how you get things done, communication. So, and funnily enough, with all the technological advancements, I still just draw to communicate my message and how to get an idea across through drafts, yeah.
I think what I find interesting about you as an artist in marketing and specifically in advertising, the confines of the expression are so tight. You got a video ad, and then you got a static ad, and then you got a radio ad, and there's lots of creativity that happens within those mediums. But very rarely do people blur the mediums or fuck with the mediums themselves. Whereas your art tends to both be creative within the medium, but you tend to be constantly blurring between mediums as well. How do you decide when does that happen? When do you think, this will be better as a tapestry rather than as a illustration? Like, how do you cross mediums and why?
It's very flattering for you to say. I guess for me, it started with just moving with the technological advancements and being a bit of an optimist, right? So I guess, after I did design school and, web design, where that was kind of crashing out, I started getting more popular in the skate and surf scene as a punk artist, and then that got me illustration work. So that was my first range of work. And then one day I was doing work for Diplo, the DJ, and I was doing the cover art for Matt Decent.
Brent's nodding, but he's got no idea.
I don't think it's super relevant anymore, but it was funny. And at the time they asked me, because I was drawing in Photoshop, and they said, hey, we want a music video done. Can you do a music video for us? You have 2 weeks. And for me, I was like, oh my God, I was only 23 at the time. And I was like, yes, oh my God, what a massive, massive thing for my career. Zero knowledge of how to do animation. So I went straight to YouTube and typed in how to animate Photoshop to After Effects, because I knew there was a connection. So then one thing to another, and then opened a whole avenue for me to do video. And then from animation to live action, and then installation work. But it is still the same language.
Just wait.
Yes.
So you taught yourself how to animate, and you pulled off a music video in 2 weeks without having ever done it before.
Yes. So
that's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm a bit mental in terms of that stuff, but it is like one language speaking to another, where it's like the same layers, the same sort of design language with the program. Thankfully, it was through Adobe, After Effects and Photoshop. But it's funny, just like one thing to another, it just is clicking along where you're like, okay, I know how to do this. That's not a problem anymore. Next technological advancement, I can move on to this. It all just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you slowly make your way up. Yeah.
When are you at your most creative? Well, when are you really? What needs to be around you for that to happen?
I think that for me, if I procrastinate too much, I don't really get too much done. So if it's a short time frame, that's when things really work for me. I do like, doing work really quickly, something I'm really into, and then taking a massive break. But then I can't just sort of, I lose focus. I have to work on it really, really quickly and just have that energy and then go into the next one. Yeah.
The Asian Australian thread that runs right through everything, if I was to sully that a little bit, I would say that's your brand platform. and then off your brand platform, you would have lots of different types of executions off that. What are you holding on to? Is it just drill into your brand platform a little bit more about?
He's not a brand mate, he's an artist.
Yeah.
I know
you're trying to do a brand strategy.
I'm trying.
I guess.
And I guess the reason why I'm interested in
He
is
doesn't need distinctive brand assets, Adam.
he does. Well, he's got one. He's got it. Like he's treating himself as a brand, and most artists, the world's best artists, always have.
Do you think about that? Do you think about yourself as a brand, or do you think about needing to have a distinctive style of art that is uniquely yours, or do you think about it in those terms?
I guess now, because there's so much art and visual everywhere. Everyone's so overstimulated. It's having a brand in a sense that it's my identity and what I really care about genuinely. So I guess in terms of the Asian Australian work and that kind of theme itself, I just think it's very specific and unique to the world, like compared to Asian Americans, or I guess in my life working with Asian themed works. Say I do Lunar New Year, I've been asked to do like very typical things like gold and red and like kanji and stuff like that. But that's not really true to who I am and my upbringing, because I was born in Sydney. My Chinese is horrible. I can't write kanji. Like to me, and it's also like with Sydney too, where it's like the banh mi is on the same level as like meat pie and stuff like from 7-Eleven.
The banh mi has gone nuts over the last 5 years. It's amazing.
It's super Australian, right? Like it's amazing, and I love that gray area and that nuance. So I think with my work, I try to avoid like something that's super stereotypical. And I've been in situations in the past when I was first starting where I was asked to do really, really work that, didn't resonate with me at all. It was Asian based.
Was that brandy enough for you, that answer, or you want a bit more?
I wouldn't mind just digging into it a little bit more. I reckon it's an interesting thing. Like, I'm just trying to think of at least the world's most influential artists have always been a very, very tightly well-constructed brand that they carry through from their art into their personal lives as well. I don't see, where's the Australian bit in the Australian Asian stuff? What do you see as the Aussie, the Australianness in it?
Well, I guess it's Australian in the sense that it's supposed to speak to the suburbs of Sydney, which is, it's a weird thing to say, but I'm I'm a Sydney apologist, right? I love the suburbs. I love Cabramatta, Eastwood, Strathfield. These areas that don't
You still live in the suburbs?
I live in Eastwood, yeah. So I'm out there. I'm seriously out there. But it's funny. There's this nuance in the middle, and I think it's like hypercolor, video games, raves, like home nightclub or whatever we were talking about earlier, like things like that. Like Fast and Furious, like these small pockets of subculture that people my age and my generation really latch onto, but is really Australian. But they might not go to the pub or play 2-up and stuff like that, but they go to like raves or hardcore events or trance and stuff like that.
Yeah, unreal. That's fantastic. And then that runs through everything, and then you're drawing from that well of Asian Australianness in every single brief you do, and then you're trying to avoid cliches around either side of that.
Yeah, and I think that's why I do get work, because whether there's a story behind it or the visual language is not super typical, I just try to find my niche is like my honesty. I try to make it something exciting, but something a bit unique to what you'd see, on iStock or something like that. Yeah.
One of the Lee Clow, who was the creative director of an ad agency, and Steve Jobs used to catch up on a weekly basis for an hour and talk about the creative work they were doing, and having kind of those set rituals that made their creative process really, really strong. Do you have set rituals that help you kind of be creative, and do you have set rituals that help you stay on brand?
Not really, to be honest. I just got to remind myself as I get older to keep an open mind. I guess whether that's socially or technology, to not be stuck in my ways, and especially something as sensitive as identity, that's always going to fluctuate and change, So I just can't be stuck to what I believe, because I know someone younger than me has a different definition of it. So just trying to be as open-minded as possible, I guess, yeah.
And speaking of open-minded, AI, at our agency, when we first started talking about AI...
Speaking about your agency, can we just check in on the email? Is Adam's email good to go, approved?
There's an extra word in
Oh, there's a typo. Okay, we'll fix that later.
Have you told them?
No, okay. Well, we'll.
You have to get back to them. Just reply and say, tell them where the typo is, and I'm going to open it back up.
Who needs agentic AI when Adam gets people to do things like this for him? It's great.
Hang on.
Anyway, Adam,
Hang on one sec.
back to the podcast.
One sec. Just if you don't mind, just tell them where the typo is. And
Yeah,
just
great.
Say
Anyway, your agency and AI.
When we first started talking about, when it became big not long ago, the whole conversation was around efficiency and everything could be more efficient. And we tried to tell the agency that AI is going to make everything more efficient, and no one gave a fuck, and it just didn't gel. Then we started having a different conversation around how it enhances the creative output, and you can do things now that you would never thought possible. And then suddenly, everyone has embraced it and playing with it and doing cool shit. In the AI world, what's been your unlock? How did you start to embrace it and see the creative potential?
Yeah, I guess so. Two things. I guess one, socially, because I learned Photoshop by teaching myself, and I didn't have when I first got in high school, I didn't buy it. I don't know how I got it, but it's something I looked upon. This is a long time ago, by the way, long time ago. So I've always been self-taught in that regard, and moving different mediums. So I do like how AI can lead to accessibility, whether it's culturally, where it's like, say, families don't approve of a creative field. It allows you to sort of give things a go or get your ideas out there or structure ideas. In a practical sense, it's helped me as a small studio or a small setup, whether it's style frames or reverse, where it's a client and they might have an illustration brief and they're trying to get their ideas together. And, at first, a few years ago, it might be a mood board of random images that don't make sense at all. But now they have that, but then also this AI finish in the last page. Like, oh, I see what you're trying to do with those ideas. So it just does make communication a lot easier. But luckily, I'm still doing the work at the end of the day. Yeah.
And like going back to the example of the music video, where you had to take 2 weeks on YouTube to learn how to animate and things like that. I mean, obviously, that'll be pretty different in the world of AI, right? Where maybe you don't have to go and learn how to do it because you got this new tool that can help you do it. Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, like, it depends on the style they're after. I guess if it's illustrative, which was my, it was bleeding on from my cover art, it would make, I guess people are still smart and AI isn't fully there. So it would sort of bridge the gap between some in-betweens or some information to communicate. But I still truly think that, people know hand-drawn animation 12 frames when they see it, when it looks like real and like has that care behind it. But also, I guess, depending on the client too, people are open to change. They want to sort of have that control and change. And I think that's where AI falters a bit. You can't have complete control quite yet.
I remember not long ago, there was a CMO of a big telecommunications company in Australia, and they were talking about all of their creative work being handmade and how proud they were that it was all handmade, and they used
handcrafted. It's different.
They used scissors and glue, and they had people, doing that kind of thing.
Jesus. Yeah, come on. What's your question?
Do people give a shit? Do you think people can tell the difference? And if they can, for how long? And is it even a question worth considering?
Can people tell the difference?
I think they can feel the difference.
Yeah, I agree with you as well, I think.
Good on Chris. Yeah. Maybe we should do a podcast together.
Do you reckon can people tell the difference? Can people feel the difference between Photoshop and something not Photoshopped? Can people feel the difference between a digital camera and and film? Can people feel the difference between a drawing and a photo?
No, but I think you're sort of you're talking about the medium versus the way it's been made or the person who's using that tool. I think it's different. So like you're sort of saying like you tell the difference between it's taken on a digital camera or taken on a piece of film. I can really tell the difference if a great photographer's taken it, no matter which tool they used. I think that's the difference. No, you don't agree. Oh, you obviously don't agree.
Well, no, I think
you're so-
I think it's almost the wrong question, because if you made an amazing piece of art out of just using AI and just using a series of this stage prompts versus an amazing piece of art that was done using scissors and glue, if are both amazing,
So offensive with the scissors and glue comment.
if are both amazing pieces of art, you'd feel something, right?
Yeah, sure, but I think the point for me, sorry, we'll come to you in a minute, Chris, is I think we live in a world that is already full of a lot of AI slop. And you know, the fact that my kids watch this thing called Italian brain rot, there's all this stuff in the world that's so easy to make, and I think that it's never been easier to make average or good, right? Never been easier. And I just think that the stuff that has been crafted, it's less about has it been made by a hand or with scissors and glue. It's more that someone has cared so much about this thing that it has a level of craft that will make it stand out from all that other stuff that hasn't been as cared for. I think that's the point for me, right? And I'll give a really good example of your work, Chris. I love the way when you're at Kofi, you learnt textiles, right? And you sort of learnt how to do textile stuff. And then I look at some of your work, and there's this beautiful. It's digital, but it feels like it's been hand woven in some way, because you understand the world of textiles and you apply that to the sort of the digital. So is that an example from your world of where understanding the handcraft and understanding the care that goes into things, you've been able to sort of translate that in a really interesting way into your art?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you completely. Like, I think that, you know, it is easy to get caught up with AI with how good it looks. But with art, it's not really about how good or bad something looks. It's all subjective. And it's about, you know, we were talking earlier about branding and identity. You're sort of buying, but also, you know, you're in love with that artist and what they're about. It could be something so minimal, but you know it's that same narrative and storyline. So I think that's where the artist is still at play. You know, it's just not about how good something is, how bad something is. It's why they're doing it and the context of it all. But also that human element, I think, is not replaceable quite yet. But you can make something look really good with AI, but it wouldn't have that meaning, you know?
Well, it would if that was the intention of the artist and that was the story of the artist, and they wanted to use AI intentionally for the process of creating what they wanted to create. I think you've just found that bee's dick way of agreeing with both of us.
Except my final point on this.
I didn't. Bees dick was the wrong analogy, but threading the eye of a small.
My
donut.
final point is, again, this just might be the stage we're at with AI, that we're not quite there yet, as you're saying, Chris, but we've just seen OpenAI and Claude both just come out and make two really lovely brand ads with advertising agencies and directors, not AI.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
but we've also seen.
So if AI is that good, why'd they do that?
No, but we're also because for those two examples, there's also 100 examples of different agencies and different brands using AI in experimental ways and creating interesting, good stuff there as well. There's also examples of them creating slop and, as you say, and weird looking shit like you know, lots of fingers on hands and all that kind of stuff. But I think the people who are experimenting with it today, just on that thought of being intentional, I think they're the ones who are going. I think the people creating slop today are the ones more likely to create really good stuff tomorrow, because they're leaning into it, they're being intentional, and they're trying to work out how to play with it, how to navigate it. So for the brands that I see getting it a bit wrong, they're the ones who I think, they're the ones who I'll back to be creating more quality things later.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a fair point. Yeah. It's a fair point.
Cool. Is that the end?
No, we've still got some time.
Okay.
We've still got some time, and we're going to throw some questions in a minute too, but not quite yet.
But let's get on to Chris's art.
Pub test? Yeah, so we do, if you've listened to our podcast before, we do a pub test for all our guests, where we put their creativity to the common person in the pub, Chris, and see what they think. Now, we did a special one here. We actually walked the halls of South by and asked some people. So to be fair, it's probably a more what would you
South
say?
by
More innovative
Southwest.
crowd, maybe?
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit more.
than your average pub,
Yep.
maybe?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Soberer crowd. Anyway, so we've got a little pub test done here at South by where we've shown people. It's about to pop up some work you did for Lemaire. Before we play the pub test, do you want to tell us about that piece of work? It's going to pop up here in a minute, but do you want to tell people, about how you created that and the brief and so forth?
Yeah, so it's
I'll tell you when it comes up. You'll see.
yes.
Well, you'll see. It'll have a Lemaire back in it, but.
But yeah, I guess with my career, it's either my personal work, which is far more tapestries, Asian Australian, and then my commercial work, which could be advertising, car stuff. I can't drive, which is the crazy one, but a lot of like functional ads like that. So with this ad in particular, with Lemaire, it's like a moisturizing cream brand, if you're not aware of it, and essentially it was to sort of make it's the world's biggest moisturizing tub you've seen in your life, but mixed in with my tapestry works, and I guess they saw with my work that the tapestry work had this, there it is, a nuance of something that wasn't so typical for Lunar New Year that they would usually market, and not using as many reds, some greens, some teals, but had a unique voice to it. But yeah, it was quite odd in terms of and very flattering too. But they really looked towards my personal work to make this ad work.
Because Lemaire's Estee Lauder, right? Like we're talking one of the biggest beauty businesses out there, and it's an animated piece. It's really lovely. We'll when we eventually publish this, we'll put it in the show notes. But let's see what the pub test thought of your Lemaire work, Chris. And we don't hear this beforehand. We're hearing it live like you. So here we go.
I'm not going to lie, that made me feel kind of warm and fuzzy inside. There's something about that stitching, like it looked real, it wasn't, I feel like that was animation, but it had a real softness to it.
It's all right. I don't love it. I know what the product is. I don't feel like the illustrations do anything amazing for the product. The illustrations are nice for what the product is. I wouldn't say it's a great match.
It feels nice. It almost gives you like sort of like Miyazaki vibes. Like it feels nice and friendly.
Yeah, I'd say it feels very wholesome, very like animated.
It did feel like I was watching a rug being made in front of me. A nice, soft, fluffy rug. And I don't know, it was pleasant. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, that really, that did something for me.
Yeah, okay. I can see that at the start because I can see how it starts and I feel like it looks like threads or something. Like, what? But it looks like, it's like nature. So it's obviously something like the design on the rug or something, was it?
A rug. That's not the vibe I was getting from that one.
It wasn't giving rug.
No, it was not giving rug.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say I would have thought of rug as well.
Let's make good advertisers. I mean, sometimes you can put a good piece of art in an ad, and that's all you need. Like that ad didn't say anything. The more I think about this, I'm starting to think that maybe that was AI.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, sometimes. Like, it's obviously, they may not have the insights or the know-how or know exactly what works, but like creativity sometimes wins all out.
It was a short ad and it didn't really say much, and it's for some kind of random cream that I'm probably not going to buy, but...
Not everyone's going to love that, really. I think it's quite specific.
So it's not that bad that it's like noticeable, but it's not that great either.
It was very eye-catching, but not something that I'd remember in the long run.
I liked it, so yeah, it passed the pub test for me.
Thoughts?
Flattering and also very real. I guess lovely to hear. I mean, like, it's supposed to have that qualities of warmth, family. That's the time of the year we're celebrating, Year of the Rabbit. It was a few years ago now, so AI wasn't as prevalent as is now. That being said, I guess the hardest mission for that ad and that campaign was to market moisturizing cream. And I think in terms of the client, they really wanted a really massive tub of moisture. There it is, like a tub of moisturizing cream. So with the actual animation itself, you see it and that's the final reveal. But to make sense of it all, it's supposed to be this idea of journey. So I do like how some of the comments were like, oh yeah, the threads connect the story, have a sense of warmth. But then I also agree where it's like, yeah, it is quite a weird thing that you don't know what you're looking at and then you're like, oh, moisturizing cream. That makes sense. So
it's also very different to how a normal moisturizing cream
How's it
looks,
meant to
right?
work? What was meant to happen?
Yeah, I guess, well...
What are the category entry points you were trying to hit?
Oh, my God.
I think it was the idea where it was like, with their Asian market, which is predominantly their market in China, the idea of luxury like soft luxury. So materials, textiles, fabrics, but then using some of my design language with greens and a bit of blues, which isn't usually typical with Lunar New Year, to sort of subvert that and to have something a bit original. So it was a bit of an experiment on their end. And, that's why they put the faith in me, which was like, oh my God, you sure? But I think with their marketing, they were also sick of just doing, a model with the cream that just didn't capture the attention of their market anymore. So yeah.
Do you reckon, was it an attempt to associate themselves with the Australian Asian market and be cool in that kind of area, and then have it kind of flow and cascade out into the rest of the market?
Yeah, I do think so. I think they wanted a sort of a Western touch to their work, as they said to me. And, their headquarters they were briefing me from France and Shanghai. So it's a bit of a dual understanding of what that celebration meant. And it was cool because I got to sort of read in terms of what I thought it meant as well. So it was this weird, culmination of different perspectives. But yeah, I guess they were trying to cross all these markets. Yeah.
And when you work in an advertising context versus a art context or music context or whatever, do you find it restrictive? Do you find it, questions like Adam's, you got to worry about category entry points and distinctive brand assets. And so do you find all that sort of gets in the way? Or do you also, or do you kind of find having such a specific brief quite liberating in many ways because you know what you need to do and, you sort of do that?
Yeah, I guess if I put my professional hat on, I'm like, okay, this is a client. They're obviously funding it. I'll play ball to answer their brief as best as I can. So obviously they're asking me to be there. So there's something they see in my work they can add. But at the end of the day, I'll definitely try and answer what they're going for as efficiently as I can. But that being said, obviously because of my art background, add a bit of personality, character. Then with my own work, not compromise at all because there's no money behind it. But, just allowing myself to create that identity storylines.
So does that feel like more pressure with your own work because you don't have that compromise? Or does it feel like more pressure because the client's paying for this thing? Like which one feels to you like more pressure to be able to, deliver something great?
I can answer that for you if you want, but you go first.
Well, I was asking Chris if you don't mind.
I want to hear your answer as well. Honestly, probably my personal work, to be honest, just because if there's any time I can do my personal work, I want to try something different. So whether it's installation work, something bigger in scale, or just a different medium altogether, just giving something a try. So maybe next I might try something AI, but just to experiment and see what it means. Yeah. Sorry?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing to you.
Adam, how would you like to answer that on behalf of Chris?
I would have thought Chris would find his personal stuff more challenging because I reckon what's fascinating about this is you've got such a strong identity as to where you're coming from. And that makes it easy for people to collab with you and to do things with you because they know exactly what they're going to get. And I mean that in a really respectful way. You'll do something innovative and amazing and cool, but they know you make it easy for people, and then you make it easy for yourself because all you need to do is do what you want to do and incorporate their brand into it. But it's so clear what they're buying into. It's great.
Yeah. But just coming back to that idea of client pressure for agencies, right? So, and I'm going to ask you this one. So yesterday I saw Ant White speak, who he made that crazy Diddy ad with the little guy with the flute. I hope you've all seen it. It's mad. And it was really interesting. He was talking about the fact that he felt way more pressure because he had a client that really trusted him and said, if you think that's right, I trust you, do it. And how that he felt so much more pressure to deliver versus the client who wants to micromanage and tell you what to do and make it very hard. It's almost in those situations you've almost got an excuse, right? Do you feel that as an agency guy?
Yeah, I do. I feel that. And I also feel like the whole conversation has changed. Everyone's got the memo now. Everyone, I think, understands the power of creativity, the power of emotional connections.
Do you think that's this podcast that's done that? That's made that huge change in the industry?
I think there's a high correlation, maybe causal, don't know.
Yeah.
But and so I don't think the conversation is around the client is trying to lop the edges off anymore. I reckon the conversation is everyone wants something cool and interesting and they're going to capture attention and create memories and so on. And it's just about how do you get there together. So I hear what Ant's saying, and I think a lot more, I'll say sophisticated clients, but a lot more clients in general are kind of that ilk, and kind of going, yeah, let's do something great together.
Is that because you're Thinkerbell and you're an independent agency and you are more maverick than the average?
I think it's because you look around, you look at this place, you look at, creativity is permeated through corporate culture now everywhere. So everyone kind of understands its value, I think, now. So I think it's just the bar's lifted for everyone. I think the world's become more accepting of creativity in a commercial setting, and it sees its value.
You're always so optimistic, Adam. I love it. Would anyone like to ask a question of Chris or me or Adam here in the audience? Yeah, over here. Dylan with a roving microphone. And if you could just say your name, where you're from, that'd be great.
Michael Burrows from Brand Music. AI is a big part of our workflow. Question is agency and also to the artist. Wherever possible, we're really trying to kind of use, I guess, ethically sourced, fairly trained models. But there are some murky waters within that scope. Yesterday, I was having a really deep discussion with a creative lawyer. And
that's an oxymoron.
Yeah, exactly. And he was talking about kind of this idea that we have to be honest and transparent, that there may be traces of nuts within our work. And it sort of freaked me out a little bit because I thought, wow, there's so much of our work on air at the moment that's got elements, fragments, micro parts of AI in it. I didn't have to say we used loops back in the days for our music production. We never had to sort of be transparent about it. What sort of responsibilities do we have as an agency? Do you put a little T's and C's at the bottom that says there may be traces of nuts? And as an artist, do you do that as well?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I guess if it's professional work, I haven't really done anything AI directly where the final product's AI, but definitely in the back end, say it's animation, After Effects, stuff like that. Say it's like masking, tracking, all the AI implementation has been cutting the workflow by like 1,000,000%. It makes it so much easier.
And so would you actually then say AI played a part in creating this or not? That's
probably,
the question, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's a tough one for us all because we don't know yet where these language models are built from. And
I mean, probably with commercial work, unless it featured directly in it, I probably wouldn't if it's back end. But with my personal work, if it's something about challenging AI or the use of AI, I definitely would make it front and center. I wouldn't shy away from it.
We've just done something quite a large project, which was largely done in AI with Menulog, and which is Just Eats as well. And we used a hip hop artist called Bliss and SO, who they reinterpreted the song. So the song they reinterpreted is owned by Menulog, which is the song Did Somebody Say? But then the way they've reinterpreted it is they now own the rights to how they've reinterpreted the song. And then we use AI to customise that song in thousands of different ways. Depending on where you're listening to, the song changes a lot.
Was that using like Suno Remix or something like that, where you were able
It was using...
He's got no idea, but it was AI.
But see, that's the danger.
I did put a call out before this saying what platforms did we use. I thought this question might come up, and I've got no idea. But we used various platforms, and apparently we stitched everything together, is what you meant to say. But anyway, so we but the point, to answer your question, it's a good one. Just yesterday I said, let's do various other versions of that ad, because there's ways we can extend the campaign, and let's just get in there and do it. And then I didn't realise that we couldn't keep on just extending it forever. Where we've extended it to, the rights have been sold to that, and then they've got the rights. Now, if we want to extend it again, they own the rights, and so therefore, we can't extend it without kind of their blessing and say-so and giving them money. And that made me feel good, because if we could just keep on extending it forever, then somebody's losing out in that relationship. So I guess it comes back to, just setting up and being transparent as possible at the beginning. The other thing which we've done is we've created a relationship with the Ethics Centre, which is a fantastic institution in Sydney, and we kind of use them as ongoing consultants through all of this as well. And having just having an ethics guide as we go through this crazy world, I think is kind of important.
Yeah, that's smart. And I think the flip's interesting too. Greg Hahn, who's the founder of Mischief, a great agency in America, he said recently that he thinks that certified human will become the label versus, no animal cruelty or carbon neutral. So not just saying AI created on the downside, but on the positive saying...
The heart tick.
Yeah. 100% human made.
Scissors, glue, and paper.
Yeah, that's right, Adam. Fuck you. All right, so do we have any other questions in the audience? Yeah, sure. Up the front? Yep.
So, Chris, you talked about how your
Name and where you're from?
Oh, sorry, I'm Chris as well.
Oh,
I'm
excellent.
from Amazon.
Great.
So we talk about creativity in corporate. Anyway. You talked about how your work reflects your identity, and then we put in front of people in South by Southwest today on the pub test, right? Which was fun. I love your opinion, and then also your opinion as well, of how the creative work we do in advertising reflects real everyday Australians, and if we think we're truly speaking to them, or are we speaking to ourselves, and does that get better or worse with AI?
Oh, it's a good question. Adam, do you want to go first? Well, Chris thinks. Chris is thinking.
There's lots of evidence to suggest we're talking to ourselves, but I don't know if it matters because I think we're probably more similar than we are different. So humans, we are so much more similar than we are different. So I do think we get a little bit hung up on terms of who we are talking to. And I think if somebody resonates with somebody at a human level, it's probably going to resonate with most of us. So that's my ongoing thing is even if we are talking to ourselves, we are talking to humans. We're all really, really similar. But we are probably talking to ourselves more than we realise because we know this room better than we know Bankstown or further afield. And with AI, I'm really scared of the homogenising impact AI has. And you could say it's democratising knowledge. Another way of saying democratising stuff is saying it's homogenising stuff. And that scares the shit out of me.
It's a good answer. Chris, you got any builds there?
Yeah, I guess because when I've experimented with AI, thinking about my thoughts in the suburbs and my nuances, it really hasn't filled that gap yet. Not quite yet.
Well, you're the one artist who's not in the Surrey Hills bubble, so you can talk to this better than anyone.
I'll train it. No, but yeah, at the moment it is still quite general. Obviously, other things in life it can be very, very helpful for like I'm trying to eat healthy or learn how to cook something. It's pretty good. But in terms of that specific, not yet. And it's still very, very human and localized. Within suburbs, which is great. You can travel there.
And I just had one more. I'd add one more thing to the answer, which is I think it's personally, I think the best marketing doesn't reflect or hold up a mirror to people. I think it slightly challenges them. I think it gets them to look at the world differently. I think there's a danger in listening to. In fact, my learned podcast host wrote a book called Don't Listen to the Consumer because I think the danger in doing too much research and too much trying to, reflect what people say they want. Like every bit of research that I ever see, they eat way less McDonald's and watch way more ABC than they really do, right? Like people definitely aren't honest in research a lot of the time. But regardless, I think rather than holding up a mirror to people and reflecting their lives, I like to try and do work that entertains, inspires, challenges them a little bit, and provides just a bit of, respite from real life. You know what I mean? I know I need that. We have time for one last question. Yes.
From an
name and where you're from?
My name is Orshi. I'm from Debate Club.
You're from Debate Club?
What's Debate Club?
Is that a business called Debate Club, or you're just in the debate club of your...
I run debates.
Wow, that is...
Have
you met Adam Ferrier? You need
that sounds cool.
You need
I have now.
I'd like my son to do debating.
I would love more kids.
Yeah, right.
More, let's talk.
Mine can debate less, but that's okay. That's for another day. Anyway, question.
So question from an advertising perspective and just the way how things are shifting, everything is becoming more competitive and more brands are growing, more noise in the market, more pressure on performance. which from an advertising perspective, probably going to mean a lot of shift into dynamic creative optimization, especially fed by data and AI. So my question is, how do you see that fitting into from a creative input perspective?
It's a really good question. I think we've had a guest on the show, a chap called James Herman, who's made this whole conversation incredibly simple around current and future demand, and says that most marketers and most performance and most optimization is done against current demand. So it's for people who are currently in market, whereas the challenge for most marketers and people trying to sell is they've got to think about where the brand's going in the future and all the people who aren't currently in market right now, and how do you communicate to them. And you can't optimize against people who aren't currently in market yet. So it's kind of trying to have the conversation saying, if you're creating guff for people currently in market, you're currently probably speaking to the 1% of people in your market, and you need to try to find a way to speak to the 99% of people. And that's probably not going to be optimizing around their current behaviours, because you don't know what they are. And that kind of, I think, that kind of mentality frees you up a little bit to think broader and bigger about that. And then hopefully you can have an idea that can kind of transcend that.
Yeah, great answer. And also, I think, brand building is a communal thing. It's not a highly optimized, personalized thing. It's a collective thing that we all. And it's interesting, like the Telstra walks become a bit of a thing.
And the Tui's. I feel like
get yours in. And I feel like a Tui's is not as big, but it's a thing. And this whole Telstra walk thing that's happening on TikTok, I was at the TikTok house yesterday talking about it. 22 million views on TikTok, 6,000 individual videos posted up for a legacy telco brand on TikTok, all driven by broadcast brand moments in live sport, not driven by highly optimized, personalized TikTok videos by influencers and creators. So there is still some magic in this collective brand experience, and I do think it's at the core of what brands mean to people. But all that said, there's no doubt there's a big role for what you're talking about in the right channels at the right times to our existing customers, like super important. But to Adam's point, once we know who you are and what you're interested in, and you give us some data signals, and we can suddenly optimize to you. Yeah.
And so, and again, I'm going to steal from another guest, Henry Ennis from Mutinex, was talking about the fact that the tech companies, many of the tech companies have led the conversation around measurement lately, and all of their measurement metrics are built against optimization of their current audience. And so that's kind of thrown us off the scent a little bit in terms of how to build a brand. And then the other thing that I think's thrown us off the scent a little bit is behavioural economics and behavioural sciences, which is very much about nudging and individual relationships with people. And I think where we're starting to get more into is social psychology and understanding systems and understanding how information flows through culture. And that kind of feels like a re-emerging conversation. But it's a really good question.
Excellent answer too, Adam. Hey, we're going to wrap up. It was. I mean that sincerely. Okay, so we're going to wrap up, and we always wrap up Black T-shirts the same way. We ask our guests if they were going to summarise their creative philosophy and put it on a black T-shirt. What would be your black T-shirt, Chris?
Find your identity fast.
Find your identity fast.
As in fast, as in once you've got your identity, stick with it,
or don't eat, or find your identity and don't eat. Or I think he means quickly, Adam.
You shouldn't be making fun of a person's sling.
But it takes time, and that's the kind of the duality of that.
And is that sort of you reflecting that you wish you found it faster? Or?
Yeah, it just gave me confidence because I was so lost for a long time, But once you get that, everything else sort of falls into place.
That's great.
That's my sort of.
It's nice, dude. It's nice. Really if we ever get around to it, we'll make you that black T-shirt. We'll send it out to Eastwood.
Please, all the way out.
You can represent in the burbs. It'll be great. Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's a very busy, packed schedule here at South by Southwest. There's some incredible speakers and incredible sessions, and we're just so grateful that you came to see our little live podcast recording. So thanks, everyone, for coming. Have a great last day of South. Well, is it the last day? Kind of. Last day of conferencey stuff. Yeah. Anyway, enjoy your Friday at South by Southwest. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.